Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is Jerome, and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we're doing something different. We're actually doing not my deck profile, but a buddy of mine's, and his name is...
Hello, I am Salad God, one of Jerome's friends, very good friend of mine. Today we're going to be showing my Salamangreat deck profile that I went undefeated with during tier format.
Yeah. Yeah, this was supposed to happen like 3 weeks ago, but your boy here had a lot of stuff going on, so yeah, a little bit behind. But yeah, like you said, he went undefeated in a tier 0 format playing Salad. I wouldn't expect that to happen, but he did it. He absolutely did it. And yeah, man, so go ahead. The floor is all yours. I'm just going to be here maybe asking some questions about your build and stuff like that. But go ahead.
Okay, so taking a first look at my deck profile, the first thing you'll probably notice is just, wow, this is the most standard stuff I have ever seen, and you would be right. So, just starting off the deck profile, we have 3 copies of Flame Buffalo, easily the best normal summon in the deck. 1 Gazelle. This card is just the heart of the whole deck. You have to basically use it to go through every single combo that you use, and it does have some pretty spicy implications with good old Nibiru here. 3 copies of Salamangreat Foxy. This card is a 1-card out to basically any in the game, with the exception of Necro Valley and the banished ones. 3 copies of Spinny. 2 copies of Jack Jaguar, 3 Exceed, just to make the good old Baguska. And then moving on to the hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's recyclable. You can send it, get it back basically every turn. 3 copies of Ghost Bell to stop your opponent's tier limit fusions. 3 copies of Nibiru. I've just always ran 3 copies of Nibiru. Yeah, it wasn't the best against tier format, but especially at my locals, it did see a lot of play. 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just to stop hand traps or, again, pesky tier limit effects. 3 copies of Mining, you just pitch a Salamangreat, add Gazelle, immediately special summon the Gazelle. Again, a really good play starter and extender for the deck. Salamangreat Circle. The second effect, Salamangreat Circle, does sometimes just have some implications, especially in this current format. It may actually be better to keep your circle in hand, to just activate it to protect your Sunlight Wolf against a Nibiru if your opponent has it. 1 Salamangreat Sanctuary, 1 Will of the Salamangreat, 2 Pot of Desires. If you're playing against a Salad player, you will know that they always have it.
Every time. I hate it.
Literally every time. It's great. 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just the targeted effect negation is just great, and you have 1 copy of each of Salamangreat Roar and Rage.
And real quick before you go on to the next one, sorry if there's like some weird distortion going on, but it is Discord, ladies and gentlemen, so you already know how it is. But moving on, you can continue.
Moving on, let's go take a look at the extra deck. Obviously, starting with the Xyz monsters, Salamangreat Mirage Stalio. Again, you normally go into this card either going second to target bounce one of your opponent's cards, or just to go into your Baguska lines. Speaking of, number 41, the Terribly Tired Taper, just your walking skill drain, your walking Macrocosmos. It kind of sucks when your opponent has board breakers, but Abyss Dweller, FDK against tier limit players. Again, in that format, it was probably one of the best cards.
By far.
3 copies, yeah, by far. 3 copies of Salamangreat Bailings. You run 3. Your grind game is basically entirely dependent on this card if your opponent keeps cracking your board, because normal summon a Salamangreat, any of like the Salamangreats, you get your Link 2 for free. You have your 3 copies of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, another really important card for not only your end board, but also your whole grind game. And then 1 copy of Heat Soul. Heat Soul in this deck is a card you don't really go into that often. It's a card that you only go into, say, if you get interrupted once or twice, you don't have any access to your Rage or Roars, or you don't have access to Baguska, and you haven't gone through Stalio, you just make Splash Mage, make Heat Soul, and hope you draw into some hand traps. And finally, this card is a spicy tech, Mech Knight Crusadia Max. Now, I'm not running IP Masquerena in this build, mostly because there's just not enough room for it. But even one that can't be destroyed by card effects is still a pretty difficult card for tier to out. Just the targeted protection, can walk over literally anything tier puts up. It's just a massive headache to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean,
And then we have our
coming from someone who played tier a lot, when Avermax was summoned, every time I did play testings when someone summoned Avermax, I mean, it was like GG. Like there was like literally no way I can get over it unless I had Super Poly. So yeah, that is a very powerful card. But I don't know how that works anymore now, since Cashier can just easily poke at it with their new stuff. But it's still a pretty good card. But yep.
Yeah, right now in this format, Avermax is probably the most cuttable card. I would say right now you would take out the Avermax for a Lingeribo. But then we have our Access Code package, one Splash Mage, one Update Jammer for double attacking shenanigans, one Transcode Talker. One thing that you tend to forget that when it comes to Access Code OTK in this deck is the fact that on a clear board, Transcode with Update Jammer's effect is still OTK. It's 8100 damage.
Jesus.
Just 28, 28, 25 on a clear board. And you can do that if you think your opponent is holding onto a Imperm or an Effect Veiler and saving it specifically for the Access Code. Which, speaking of, the biggest boy himself, Access Code Talker, 5300 attack, can attack twice, and can pop normally up to 4 cards.
Stupid. I hate that play so much, guys. I don't know. I can't tell you how many times Josh has done this to me, and every time it happens, I'm just like, brother, like, play something new.
The boy himself. He arrives.
Honestly, this card, I see why, like, it's here, it's, you know, it's a thing, but I have this strong hatred towards generic cards that can be summoned that have crazy effects, like, oh, your opponent can't respond, or oh, this card just can't leave the field because of XYZ, or oh, this card just can get rid of everything and your opponent just has to deal with it. I hate cards like that are just generic. Like, it should have been, you can't make this card unless you have like a certain kind of thing to go with it, but it is what it is. That's Yu-Gi-Oh! So
yeah, that's how it is. The only 2 locks that you should be familiar with if you play this deck is the Transcode Talker lock, which says during the turn you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Cybers monsters. I've seen people try and make Baguska first, and then they make Transcode Talker and try to use its effect to bring back the Update Jammer. If anyone ever does that to you, well, I don't know who else would be doing that to you besides me.
Except for you, Josh. Go ahead and tell me what you're doing when you're cheating. I'm joking.
Bro. And of course, there's the Fire Monster effect lock from Mirage Stalio if you use its first effect to special summon a Salad from deck.
Oh, I did not know about that. Okay.
Yeah. Also, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of this turn except fires.
Okay. That's interesting. See, I didn't play during this time when salads were like a top thing. I was, doing my own little thing, but, so, Josh here always, every time I see this deck, he teaches me something new I didn't know about. So, I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the side deck. Two copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood.
Did you ever get it off?
No.
Dang it.
I never got, even to this day, I still have not been able to resolve this card.
Yeah, it's great when it happens, but it probably never happens.
Yeah, especially at 2, but even then, throughout that entire event, like 3 weeks ago, I was basically just going second and OTKing.
Yeah, like Salads does.
That's just what the Salad do.
Yeah.
3 copies of DD Crow, 3 copies of the Dark Ruler No More to help more with going second. Evenly matched. Again, incredible second card. 1 Duster and 3 Cosmic Cyclones, specifically to deal with those pesky Banish Floodgates.
Yeah.
You know, Macrocosmos, D-Fissure. Those ones because,
flu.
yeah.
Just flu.
And those Kestir builds that were running D-Fissure because one of the 3 floodgates, well, spell trap floodgates that Foxy just cannot out by itself.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
now, so within this new format, right? Playing against Kashtira, or like, have you played against Kashtira this format with this?
with this build, no. But at last Sunday, I did play against one Kashtira player at the top tables.
Okay.
And from what I can
did you
tell,
get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh wow.
It's just there are some interesting things about the matchup. Is where I'm running so many hand traps that I can pretty easily counteract their Shangri-La. But it's like, I feel like it was an interesting match where I just drew enough hand traps to make it so that he couldn't like get a board established.
Right.
But it was, I just feel like I didn't really get to see what his deck could do.
Because you just kept stopping him. He kept interrupting
Yeah.
every single thing he did. That's typically what happens when you play against this Josh here. I mean, for some reason, every time I play against him, he has an Ash, a Called By, a Pot of Desires, and the one freaking Salamangreat. What is that thing? Gazelle. Every
Gazelle's
time,
the
it blows my mind. I'm just like, bro, like, how do you always open the same hand? I mean, like, what was it? When I played against you in this tournament, it was the last round. Both me and him were undefeated. And then I was playing Brandit at the time, and you know, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, cool, this is a great hand. And I activate, what was it? I think I summon a Luber, and you're like, Imperm. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. I have Branded Fusion, activate Branded Fusion, Ash. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. And then I'm like, well, you know, I could probably do this, something. And I'm like, pass turn. And he's like, oh, let me do my Pot of Desire. So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Here's my Gazelle. I'm like, all right, dude. Like, here we go. And then the next game, I think I won that because of Nib.
You did.
Yeah, because of Nib.
You did.
And then this third game, I'm feeling pretty all right. And he just cooks me. He cooks me. He like, I try to play like I had Nib in my hand, but he ain't gonna fall for it. You know, this is Josh we're speaking about. He ended up having the Called By, I think, for my one interruption that I had or something. I don't know what it was.
I don't remember, but I remember that I kept my Gazelle in hand because specifically, if you did have the Nibiru, after you use it, I can just summon Gazelle and combo all over again.
Yeah, so he pretty much had it. He had it in bags, and I was like, well, that's it. I mean, he literally had everything to stop me. Imperm, Called By, Ash, like freaking Ghost Bell at one time. I think I activated Brandon Red, and you're like, Ghost Bell. I'm like, Jesus, man, like, there's nothing I could do. Like, yeah, it was Brandon Banishment. I was like, Jesus, he just has everything he needs, and that's typically, I mean, when you're playing a deck that is consistent like this, when you can just summon one card and just pop off. I mean, having so many hand traps is just, it's amazing. That's what made Sprite so good. It's because of all the hand traps you can play. You know, and I think that's why a lot of these decks nowadays, like, you know, Salads, Rogue decks and stuff, they have so many hand traps that they can honestly compete and win, go undefeated in these tier 0 formats and stuff. I mean, that's good, right?
Yeah, the main reason I actually think Salamangreat is one of the weaker Cybers decks, specifically because that its one card combo potential is just significantly weaker than all of the other, than like say Mathmech or Marincess.
Yeah.
Where it's like one Gazelle it'll give you either have to choose between like going Sunlight Wolf or going Balinx with a Roar set.
Yeah.
It's just your entire interaction with your opponent is entirely dependent on which hand traps you drawn. If you've drawn multiple of the same hand traps, it's already really rough. if you only have the one gazelle to summon. It's what this card is. This deck is best described as basically a 2 to 3 card combo deck.
Jesus.
It's
But I mean, this man here, he doesn't brick. All right, don't let him fool you. He doesn't brick. All right.
I mean, when
Never.
you're running, really just any 2 names, plus you have circles, minings. This deck
Yeah,
has access
stupid
to.
stuff.
It has access to the combo a lot, even though you need 1 to 3 cards to combo most of the time.
Now,
But,
how do you feel about Pot of Desires going against Kashtira? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna activate it?
It depends on if I'm going first or not.
Yeah, right. That's a big, scary move. If you knew, like, even if you were going first and you knew your opponent was playing Kashtira, are you gonna use Pot of Desires?
It depends on if I need it or not, honestly.
Okay, because I
It's
swear,
like-
if I was playing Cash and my opponent went first and they did Pot of Desires, oh man, I'm going for Diabolos. I'm gonna make you, I'm gonna make you banish the top. Then another top, like what? What is that gonna be? It's gonna probably be like 11 cards off the top plus the other 3 that I did. So like, yeah, you're gonna be banishing. I'm gonna make sure you deck out. I'm gonna be pushing for all your resources to be gone.
It's just that you use Pot of Desires, especially in a deck with as many hand traps as this, to just dig for more of them. So if I'm in a position where Pot of Desires is just something I don't have to do, but can just do it anyways, then normally you do it to dig for more hand traps to just stop your opponent even harder.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago, I can't remember exactly what deck I was playing, but I know I was playing against you, and I probably was playing Sprite, and I remember I had so many interruptions, and the very last card in your hand was Pot of Desires. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, this man always has this stupid card every time. Like, it's you and Tariq and Sprags. Every time I play one of you guys, it's every time Pot of Desires is in every one of you guys' hands. It kills me. I'm just like, this card's at 2, and I I play 3 Pot of Prosperities, and I never see a single one. Like, what in the world?
It's just Pot of Desires is just an insane card.
Ban it.
Decks
No, I'm
like
joking.
this, where
Don't ban it. It's not ban worthy.
It's already been put to 1.
Really? It's been put to 1 before?
Yeah, it was put to 1. Yeah, it was put to 1 at one point.
Oh, I never knew that. Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew Pot of Desires was put to 1. That's insane.
Yeah, it was put to 1, then it was put back to 2, like immediately the next list after.
Wow. All right.
And it's just been at 2 since. But back to what you were saying about this deck versus Kashtira. If you're going second, it's basically just you need to hard draw Nib or hard draw Imperm. Specifically hard draw Nib because Macrocosmos is not a card you want to play against if you're playing Salamangreat.
I'm about to say, yeah, you can't even do anything.
Yeah, no. Just that's why Virtual World at one point was such a rough matchup. I believe you've made Shenshin on me, and my only out was to just make access code.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you did. You made it with no like cards, but you still could like pop. No, you couldn't pop.
I could swing over.
Yeah, you could swing over. Oh, you could pop, right? You can get rid of your own access code. You should have did that.
End on nothing. But I feel like the main MVP of that matchup is definitely going to be Baguska.
Yeah, for sure.
Because how my opponent outed it is that they summoned Scareclaw Kashtira and used it to just basically swing over.
Oh yeah. I'm about to say, yeah, they can just summon that and battle phase attack over it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still a really rough position to be in for a Kashtira player because now you have a monster on field.
Oh yeah, true. You have to waste your 1 summon for that. Yeah.
Specifically on the Scareclaw Kashtira, which I don't believe has any effects to special.
It doesn't.
Or like any of those fancy effects that the other Kashtira cards have. So it's basically just, do you have Birth?
And yeah, if they don't have Theosis or
GG.
Birth, it kind of ends their turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like Baguska, especially in Salamangreat, if I do decide to keep playing it, is going to be my main tool to play against the top decks. Like Brandon is absolutely crazy right now,
Yeah, definitely.
and they
insane.
have a pretty rough time playing through Baguska. And it's just really you can get rid of the whole Salamangreat name and just call this Baguska.deck because that's how you optimally play it.
Some Baguska salad. There you go.
This is Baguska.deck.
Look at the extra deck. Oh, that's another good question too. Are you gonna up the Baguska knowing that Cashier can just rip one up? Look at your extra deck and just say, "Oh, there's a Baguska. Let me just get rid of that."
I feel at that point, if it's gotten to that point, I've likely already lost that game anyways.
True. Yeah. I guess you got. Yeah. Yeah. You got a point
Because-
there.
Because at that point, they've done enough summons for me to activate an Ibiru.
What if they just
And
said
if I-
straight up? What if they just said, "Screw it, I'm going balls in. I'm gonna Cashier Unicorn, right? And I'm gonna Theosis, get my Fenrir, and I'm just gonna go ahead and make Diabolos right off the rip." just go ahead and get rid of the look at the extra deck. They're just that bad that they that's their opening move.
Okay, see, at that point, they'd hit access code.
Yeah, that's true. They're just like, damn, they did the wrong play.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe there is a play there. I don't know, but that's for a whole nother kind of topic.
It's like, okay, if they're going through their main combo, they're either, especially if they're going first, and I don't have an Ibiru, they're 9 times out of 10 they're going to be hitting the access code talker first,
Yeah.
just to stop any chance of me coming back and killing.
Yeah, because they could just always, as soon as you summon something, they could just banish it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, pretty much be GG at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as they make their field, and if you don't have the nib, you might as well just scoop,
Yeah.
because I don't think there's an out to that whatsoever.
I
Yeah.
definitely think going into this next format, the main things that you would change about this deck is definitely going to be the side deck and just changing out the Crusade Avermax.
Yeah.
Because against Kashtira, even though you're main decking nibs, you always do want to have that just assurance of having Book of Eclipses, Swords of Concealing Light, just in the side deck, just in case.
Yeah. Sucks that we have to like mandatory play freaking cards like that now.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's basically how Yu-Gi-Oh's been for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Everyone had to play like Abyss Dwellers and stuff. Now it's like, oh, you don't have to play that anymore. Now you have to play Eclipses or 2 Link Rebos or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
it's weird,
Which-
man. It's weird. Weird meta.
it's strange, especially in the early stages where not everything is figured out. Some techs are still being tried out if they're good or not. Although one thing that is an advantage about Salamangreat versus, well, I guess just Cyber's decks in general versus like other decks is that we do not give 2 craps about Iblilock.
Yeah, that's a massive L if you're playing sprites with Ibli in the main deck and you set up the Ibli lock and you pass turn and then they sit there and say, summon
Okay, so I'll make
Salamangreat.
Salamangreat Phalanx.
Yeah, right. Link off. Thank you.
Just immediately make Lingaribo turn off their double cross.
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I was thinking about main decking Ibli in my sprite deck on Sunday, but then I was like, whoa. I was like, this helps out so many Link decks, and right now this is like a good time for people to be playing Links, so let me
It's
not do that.
It's really only the Cybers decks that have the one card, like have the 1 cards.
Yeah.
Like Mathmech has some 1 cards with Disciple Devotee, and in my build I also run Balinks.
Yeah.
And Salamangreat, it doesn't really help Marincess because let me just check. Where is? Yeah, because they need Marincess monsters.
Oh yeah,
specifically.
everyone owns Marincess, yeah. So hey, there you go. If you hate playing against Marincess, just put Ibli on their field. Now they can do their Marincess plays.
Yeah, especially since a lot of they require specifically water monsters.
Oh yeah. Oof, that's rough.
So if you have a Marincess player at your locals,
Quan.
don't be afraid.
Quan, we're coming for you. No.
Specifically you.
All right, man. Yeah, that's pretty much. I think that
Yeah,
pretty much covers everything, right?
That's basically it.
Yeah. So,
It's just-
real quick, we're gonna be doing interviews. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna be getting certain local players on, and possibly some other players from around United States or TCG, and talk to them about the game and stuff like that, and a bunch of different kind of questions and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm not gonna hold you up any longer. It's been going on for like 25 minutes now somehow. But anyways, thank you, Josh, for coming on. That was great and everything. And if you want to say anything to the people before we go.
Yeah, check out my YouTube channel, Salad God.
Salad God. I'll put it in the
Salad
description.
God. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right. Remember, like, subscribe. Let's get the engagement up, people. And thank you so much for stopping by, everybody. And I'll see you all in the next one.
Salad best deck. Let's go.
Peace.